ये मेरा आज का सेकंड ऑल वुमेन पैनल है, पहला पेयू वाला था।
Wow.
अच्छा रहा, वो भी काफी अच्छा था, मजा आया।
Okay, 7:58. So we are already live, but we still have 2 minutes. So those of you who are watching this video on social media or on live on Zoom, so basically, in case if you have any questions, this is a much broader theme, right? Learnings from failure. So of course, you will ask questions, but you can also share your failure stories and what did you learn from them. So idea is not just to share failure stories, but tell us what did you learn from them. That would be great. And so one of the things we really pride ourselves on is to starting events on time and finishing on time. So this is the 13th session, so very precise, exactly on time, finishes exactly on time. So this is something I'm really proud of, and we will continue to do that. It's almost 2 minutes still left, but this program is organized by eChai Network and Vadhwani Foundation. Swaroop represents the Vadhwani Foundation. Swaroop, if you are able to speak, can you just briefly introduce yourself? I'll see as he's becoming a silent spectator here now. But we'll just get started with our discussions. A couple of more minutes. We are already live on social media anyways. I've tagged all of you on Twitter also. So you can spread the word.
I just saw.
One more minute and then we'll get started with our discussions. Okay, it's almost 8 p.m. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. I'm Jatin. I'm one of the co-founder of eChai Network. We host a lot of interesting startup meetups in 25 global cities. Thanks to pandemic, now we have moved online, and this summit is a representation of what we've been able to do in the last 2 years to bring folks from all over the world together. So this is a sincere and committed effort to bring a diverse set of speakers from all over the world and engage with the founders. And with these sessions, the good thing is that we are able to record this conversation. So probably this becomes a timeless content and not just for the people who are just able to attend this live, but probably after a month, some people will discover this and will be able to see and watch these videos. So this particular session is about learnings from failures. And Nikita Maheshwari from Tatkalori would be moderating this session. And with this, my guest appearance in this session is over. Now I'll hand over the Zoom screen to Nikita. Nikita, yes. If you can briefly introduce yourself and set that on.
I will. Hi, everyone. My name is Nikita Maheshwari. I'm co-founder and CEO of Tatkalori Private Limited. I've been an entrepreneur for roughly 5 years now. Tatkalori is a niche logistics and supply chain management company in the field of tiles and sanitary. So yeah, that's about me. And I'd want all of our other speakers to go ahead and introduce themselves. Let's start with Bhavini. Please go ahead.
Hi, so my entrepreneurial journey started 12 years back with a business, and then with a startup, followed 3 years back, I started a startup. So my first business I started a virtual assistant company. It's basically a company that provides virtual assistants to CEOs, CFOs, and top level management for companies based in US and Australia. So that picked up really well. 6 months were very exhausting, but then we started picking up, getting clients, and we have like a team of 60 VAs now. The second business is an international publishing house, which happens to be a startup, and it's we are into publishing of fiction and non-fiction books. We publish, market, distribute in 44 countries. So that's about 2 of my ventures and my entrepreneurial journey of 11 years.
Great. Neha, could we hear your story?
Sure. So I'm Neha. I'm the founder of Codesign Labs. By qualification, I'm a chartered accountant. Very few people know about that because I'm a founder of a design company. I started Codesign Labs back in 2016. Codesign Labs is a design ops management platform that enables startups, business enterprises to meet their design, content, and technology requirements at scale using freelancer pool and best project management services. So to put it very simply, we make it possible for a designer from Mumbai, a copywriter from Pune, and a developer from Bangalore to create a website for a client in Ranthambore in a commercially virtual space. So we are a 100% online company. We are a lean team of 6 with 180 plus registered freelancers with us and 50 plus clients as of now. And we've also been awarded as a diversity champion for championing diversity in workplace, as more than 50% of our workforce is work from home women. So that's about it.
Great. Charu, could we hear your story?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Charu Dhyani, and I'm from Hyderabad, India. I have a mindful consumption brand called Wudbox. So in this, we are providing people with sustainable and eco-friendly alternatives to literally everything that they're using in their daily life. And I think now more than ever in this time, we are realizing how important it is to live in harmony with nature, like how deeply dependent we are, on the planet, and how we need it more than it needs us. Still we dump around 2.2 billion tons of waste every single year, and that is with things which we use for less than 6 months. So our wrong consumption patterns is creating a havoc, and I think we are also suffering from it in certain way. So we are providing a solution to it by providing people with more sustainable alternatives. We started off with eco-friendly utilities, and now we are also providing in the categories of ethical fashion and accessories, like natural ingredients based, chemical free body care products, and like handcrafted, local produced. So the idea is that we make sustainable products and sustainable living very easy to understand, easily available, and of course very easy and friendly on the pockets of the consumers. So yeah,
Great.
that's what we do.
Jheal, could we hear your story?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jheal Shah. I started my entrepreneurship journey about 13 years ago. So when I was 18, I started my first company. I ran it while I was doing my undergraduate in the UK, which is actually in molecular genetics. And my company was in event management. I sold it to my business partner at 21, moved abroad to New York, got my master's in fashion marketing, and currently I run a startup in the fashion space. Very similar to exactly what she just said about conscious living, about ethical fashion. So we actually rent high-end designer clothes for men and women, as well as accessories, for 10% of retail price. And the entire idea behind it actually was about the consumption that we do, about simple Indian clothes, for example, that you wear to a wedding. If you wear it to your wedding or your brother, sister's wedding, cousin's wedding, it's very unlikely that you will wear it again. Even if you do, high-end designer fashion for women never gets worn more than 4 or 5 times in their entire lifetime. And these are not the kind of clothes you can donate or give away, to people who actually can't wear them in the future. It's not like you can give it to your house help and be like, hey, wear it, because they don't have use for it either. So the entire point was, how can we actually make the entire supply chain more circular, and have more people access these garments, which they currently can't just because of price. So we rent them all over India for about 10% of retail price. That's our average rental. So our average rental is between 4,500 to 6,500 for a 4-day period. We custom fit the outfits to your size. Shipping is free, dry cleaning, everything is done from our end. So yeah, that's what I currently do.
Shruti, could we hear your story?
Hi everyone. Thank you, Jatin, for this amazing panel. I run a product development company. We give solutions to startups, mid-sized companies, mostly in manufacturing or hardware space. We give services like PCB design, PCB testing, hardware design, engineering. So it's like 100% hardware development company. It has pivoted over a few years of failures in different segments. I am an ex-medical advisor by profession, and I switched my career from medicine to engineering. In between, I had a lot of other failures also, which we are going to talk subsequently. And I also have an FMCG distribution company, which we just launched this year, under which we have distribution of clarified butter as cow ghee and a couple of other products also in the kitty. And we are launching our own first product as a service company by next month, which is a thermo sensor device. We got a patent also on the design. So that's about me.
I love how varied the panel is. Like, even I'm a lawyer who's not pursued litigation, and then there's a molecular genetic person who studied that, and then there's a CA, and then we've not pursued what we studied, and we went on to pursue everything. Obviously, this this panel is about how we made mistakes and how we have learned. And we have fashion to logistics to online platform to publishing and to hardware. So it's an absolute pleasure here to be with you, all of you women, wonderful women. So one of my very very favorite quotes by Henry Ford is failure is nothing but a stepping stone to start more intelligently. And that's what we're here to talk about. So breaking in the topic now, one of what I would want all of you to address is your key failure and learning from it. I'll start with what was my key failure. One of my absolute key failure that changed my career entirely is I failed my first company, which was stylebazaar.com, and I started Tatkal Lorry Private Limited. The reason I started Tatkal Lorry Private Limited was because I actually went ahead and tried understanding why I failed and where I failed, which ultimately led. So the primary learning from that failure was that you should not create a product that you want. You should create a product that your customer wants. Go talk to them. Go understand their needs. Go understand on their level, and bring in a product that is operationally viable on their level, because every community is different, and it is always better to talk to the target market and understand this. The second key learning from this was, if you don't have experience, don't be hesitant to bring in partners. Partners bring in actually more ideas. It's always good to have more people supporting you and bringing the best out of you. And so don't be hesitant to bring in partners. And that was the very key learning points which I use till date, that I will get in people who are better than me, obviously, and they have excellent knowledge. And the second thing is, prepare a product that the customer wants and not what I want. So let's begin with Charu. Uh, what was your key failure, and what did you learn from it?
Completely, agree with you, how failures and how we learn so well from the things that we have failed at. I think this is it had been several months that I had started the business, and one day at the end of the day, when I was completely exhausted, like tired, I'm sure all of your entrepreneurs, you understand this, I was totally exhausted, couldn't lift a finger. And I just looked back and I'm like, it's been so many months, close to a year, and this business has hardly grown. What the hell have I done? I mean, like really, what have I done? And then I realized I've done a classical mistake of failing to delegate. And the three things that I probably learned from it is, one, it's important that we work on our business and not in our business. How delegation gives you, time to think of ways in which you can actually work on the growth of the business, which is, I think, the most important part. Second, when you start delegating, you get time to work on very important things of business, which are like cash flows, P&L, strategy, how to make it profitable. Third thing which I learned is that not I am not the best person to do everything. I mean, I thought I can do everything in the best possible manner and there's no need to delegate. But I learned that there's so many times that when you delegate, he or she actually does a better job than you. So I think my major learning was that how much time I saved when I started delegating, and how much I could actually then grow and work on my business and take it to a level at which it is right now.
Interesting.
After like 14, 15 hours working on it stupidly before.
Right. Neha, can we hear your story?
Yeah. So my defining failure as an entrepreneur was that I jumped in too quickly into starting the business. So while we were, like researching, I wouldn't say researching, but it was primarily the brainchild of my co-founder that he wanted to start a Uber for design platform for people out there, that a lot of companies who cannot afford to go to freelancer platform by doing their research and like identifying the talent that they want to hire or anything. Because when you go to such platforms, you have to do everything from start to end. So we wanted to become a matchmaker platform for designers primarily. So I really liked the idea and jumped in too quickly. So without even brainstorming on it further, how am I going to launch it, or probably what's the launch plan, what's the operation plan, how am I going to do it? We just identified that yes, there was a need. There are a lot of companies who are planning to go digital now. Digital era is here and people would need those services. We quickly jumped into it and I quickly launched the company. That's when I realized I've made the biggest mistake of my life, because it took me 1.5 years to actually figure out my operations processes, which is the prime of any company. I would say that's been the backbone of my company. And whosoever wants to enter into entrepreneurship at this stage, I always advise them that it's best that you actually figure out what's going to be your operations process. Demand can come in and you can generate demand at any point in time. If you have identified the market gap, if you identify the need for your business or product or service that you're ready to offer, identify how are you going to fulfill it. So it took me almost 1.5 years to figure out how my operations process is going to be, where am I going to get the freelancers from. And while I said that I jumped in too quickly, one of the biggest areas that I realized was I had no clue where am I going to get my freelancers from. Because definitely freelancers were not going to come on their own. Okay, Codesign Labs just come into the market. So yeah, so I'm going to come and work with you. We were a fairly new company with no funds at all. We were a self-funded company. Like we started with 50,000, just 50,000, because it was a virtual company. So it did not require much of an investment from our side. But we jumped too quickly into the business. And since then, I realized there were the three learnings probably that I had from that particular stint was that I need to figure out what will be my launch plan, how am I going to fulfill my project, and what will be the delivery process eventually. So since then, we had launched 3 brands under the Codesign Labs brand, which is Social Q, Onflate, and PowerDeck. And with each of these three sub-brands that we launched under Codesign Labs, we made sure that we have all of these things figured out, no matter how much time it took us to actually figure out this entire process of brainstorming. We did that, and then only we went ahead with the launch of the products that we wanted to launch.
I think making a proper go-to-market strategy along with aligning the operational SOPs to it.
I wouldn't say it's a go-to-market strategy, but it's actually to figure out how things are going to work in the backend. As I said, operations
so
are
the
back
SOPs, standard operating procedures.
Yeah. Where are you going to get your probably supply chain from? Where is the supply chain going to come from? If I have to put it like that.
Yeah. So I think when we talk about go-to-market strategy, it actually covers everything. Where will I get my customers? Where will I get my suppliers? What will be the cities I'll be targeting? How much would be the conversion each month? So putting those numbers in place, and of course the SOPs behind it. So by go-to-market strategy, that's what I meant. All right. So Jheal, if you could share your story.
So obviously every startup has a lot of different failures. And while I'm listening to the other speakers, I'm realizing, oh my God, I also made these mistakes. I didn't realize it was such a big blunder. And now I'm realizing listening to other people. But my biggest failure on that front was, so we started with the idea that we were going to rent high-end designer Indian clothes to women. So we said, okay, we'll rent Manish Malhotra lehengas and Sabyasachi lehengas, etc. for 10% of retail price. And that, 5 lakh Sabya lehenga would be about 50,000 rupees. So we got a bunch of these outfits and we put them up for rent. And then we realized that somebody who's going to buy an outfit for 50,000 is not necessarily the one who will say, oh, I want a Sabya for 50,000 because it's too much money. So the idea seemed great. And we ran it by a lot of people, including at IIM Ahmedabad, who told us, oh, the idea is great. But what we didn't realize, like a lot of the other speakers have said, is that you really need to go to your customer and be like, listen, will you rent it for 50,000? And plus we started with only Indian clothes, right? And we launched in October, which was wedding season. So by the time March came, we did well. And after March and April, we literally dropped to 0. And I was like, oh my God, I just started this company. It's been 6 months. What am I going to do? And it was such a panic situation at that point of time. It was 6 months in. And, I'd run a company before. So, and that one was very smooth sailing. We had no issues. In this one, I had issues from day one. I just could not figure it out. And then we realized that, okay, one of the things that we were doing was only Indian clothes, which is an issue. Then we were doing clothes for women. What about men? Because we had a lot of brides who came to us at that point of time and said, listen, I'm wearing this red lehenga. I want a safa that matches. I want a sherwani that matches. Even if I can get a pocket square, so at least we look a little coordinated. And we'd not thought of any of that, like at all. And plus, because it was only Indian clothes, for 6 months of the year, we realized we became a seasonal business, even though that's not what we intended. Like, we didn't start or think about, oh, I'm going to make a seasonal business and be okay with it. And we had a store, right? So I can't be sitting in the store for 6 months with no one walking in. So then we expanded to doing a bunch of different clothes. So now, for example, we do everything from short dresses to skirts to blazers to, like cocktail gowns. We do theme events. So for example, we had a bunch of clients that started coming in saying, oh, the Sangeet is, at that point of time, Anushka Sharma's wedding had just happened, etc. So, oh, I'm looking for an ivory lehenga, which is a celebrity thing, which we didn't realize would become a really big thing. Then, oh, I'm really looking for something like Priyanka Chopra wore all red. And, they were matching so much. I want something like that. And we had totally not thought of any of this. We literally said, somebody will come and say, I love Sabyasachi. I want a Sabyasachi lehenga. You're giving a 90% discount. I'm interested. But that's not actually how the market works. Like everybody's mentioned so far. You really need to go speak to your clients and be like, hi, listen, this is the idea. And we did our market research, but we did it literally only for this. That if I had a Sabyasachi lehenga, what would you require? So people said, oh, custom fitted to my size. What about the length of it? Will you ship it to me? If I have to carry it to a different city? So we thought of that. But we didn't actually think of the mindset. And I think that's very important when you're starting your own company to go back and be like, hey, I'm in love with this idea so much. And I will talk to people about this idea and they will give me feedback on this idea. But what about expanding my circle? What about expanding into people saying, hey, this is what I think, but what about alternatives to it? And I was so much in love with the idea, I never thought of an alternative. So we took another 3 months after that, pivoted, and then made it like, oh, we also do menswear. Oh, we also do cocktail gowns. So if it's your anniversary, for example, or if it's your birthday and you really want to go all out on your 30th birthday or your 21st birthday, then, you can hire a dress from us. So that's how we pivoted, which is what we do today. We do jewelry, we do menswear, we do cocktail pieces. And I mean, if I'd stuck to my original business idea, I would have to shut it down. So now 3 months in, I'm really glad I pivoted, like 3 years in, sorry. And I'm really glad I pivoted. Otherwise, I would not be able to run that company at all.
Right. So there's a thing called mom test when you do customer research. So the mom test basically says everything you'll show to your mom, she'll say, oh, this is awesome, do it. But that's the mom test, right? And the second thing is, of course, I think what we learn from here is whenever we start a business, we always have to think about the scalability.
Yeah.
Where will I scale it? How will I scale it? How will I go about it? Is it this only I'm going to do? Am I going to be so niche? And if I'm going to be so niche, what exactly is the market? So I think that's what her failure addresses. That all right, we should do this. All right, Bhavini, tell me where did you go wrong? How was your journey?
So I did all of it, as Jheal mentioned, I jumped too quickly. I did not delegate. I thought I can be that Superman that can do everything. And I made the biggest mistake of saying yes to everything that came in, So one of the mistakes that we do as an entrepreneur is saying yes to every single opportunity that knocks at you, right? And the problem is, because you keep saying yes, you can't focus on one. So that's what I did. I kept saying I was so desperate, to get started and to make it successful, that I started saying yes to everything that my clients started asking. Do you do this? Oh, yes, we do. Even when I did not have resources because I had not planned my operations. So I started saying yes because I wanted that business to flow in. I wanted that check to come in. And, it was, just when I started with my savings, because I was into banking and then investment. So I had a pretty decent saving, I would say. And I was exhausted by the time I figured out that this is not going to work. And, the problem was when you have some savings, you feel like, okay, to run your business, you got to have a proper office, you got to have a team, you got to have a peon at your office, you got to have multiple workstations, even if you don't have all the people filling in the stations. So that's how I started. And I exhausted my savings in first 6 months. I had nothing left. I had no business, no client signed up, nothing left, and a business and operational expenses to run and salaries to pay. So that was the biggest mistake I made. I said yes to everything, that every opportunity that came on my way, because I thought maybe, if I didn't make money in the first one, I would make in the other service, or something like that. Because when doing that, you end up learning nothing and offering nothing, because it's not specific. So specific is terrific. If you're not specific, you customers get confused. They don't know what you're selling. So that was my biggest mistake, and my biggest learning is learning to say no. And we are like, we take pride in saying no to things that we don't do, no to things that we don't, like, we are into publishing. So a lot of clients who come in that we want to do self publishing, but we want you to help us through content, because we help, from, it's like a one-stop shop for authors, right from developing their manuscript to publishing, marketing, distributing, everything. So like, we just need help with creating the manuscript or creating the story, and we just need editing. And like, we don't want to get into that. That's not our business model. We don't make money by creating content. We make money by creating book, creating experiences. So biggest failure, saying yes to everything. Biggest gain that I learned was saying no, being very firm and being proud to say no.
So as an entrepreneur, all of us face this conflict. Yeah, to figure out a niche also, yet it has to be perfect, scalable, and paying niche. That is such a difficult
And it's
situation.
so lucrative when you have client with a check in their hand that, if you're doing this, I'm ready. And I'm like, okay, I want that money, but I'm not doing it.
And we are so desperate for revenue as well, right? That, all right, yes, करेंगे. क्यों नहीं करेंगे? बिल्कुल
Exactly,
करेंगे.
सब करते हैं. Exactly.
So yes, I totally get that. I have been in that conflicting situation. It took I think all of
Everybody,
us.
right? It's very lucrative when the client is with the check in the hand and is like, we want this, and you're like, okay, whatever it is that you want, we'll do it.
All right. Shruti, could you please share your experience?
So my experiences have been quite different, and yes, Bhavini's experience and learning also is included in this. I basically shifted my career from being a medical advisor to a invisible sea of curiosity as to what my interest can bring in my life. So I jumped basically into arts and design and crafts and experts and all of that. So my first learning would be always start your business or your own self-owning journey by the skill sets which people can pay for you. So that is my first learning. You should always start with something which you already have, with something which you can give, and people can easily pay for that. I did not start with that. I could have easily started a medical advising company or a servicing company, where I could have been giving marketing solutions to pharmaceuticals, but I did not do that. So that's my first learning. Second learning, time is very important for any project to launch. If you are not at the right space, right time, right connections, nothing you have on the platform works. We have seen amazingly innovative ideas, amazingly innovative startups, but they have not been able to scale. They have not been able to work well just because their timing was not right, their investors were not right, or their strategy was way ahead than time, or their strategy was way faster than time. So my second learning is time. And my third learning was, basically when you come from a background where you were an employee and you suddenly start employing people, you start meeting those important people in the society as a part of your own networking, which you wouldn't have been able to do in your employment journey at any cost. So you basically lose that subtlety inside you somewhere, and it just flows out that I'm meeting this person and I'm meeting that person, and you start talking about it all the way down, and you shouldn't do that. That is my second learning, that please keep your connections intact. People should not know who are your connections, and they are, people at the top are not interested on in knowing who are your connections, in knowing what you have or what you have built, or what you have passed through, or what your failures are. So I started with a multidisciplinary design company, and we pivoted to now just giving engineering and industrial design solutions. We are still carving our niche, but my first breakthrough and the advantage which I had was that I dropped from an Ivy League MBA school, and I picked it up from there only after 2 years of exploration in art and design and craft and furniture and all of that. So yeah, so time, and plus you need the right connections. If you have something, please talk to the right set of people. It doesn't matter they are at a high position, they're at a low position, but connections which are able to contribute to your journey are more important than just knowing them. So time, connections, identification of the right skill, stability and subtlety in your character, and just finding that right space where you know what you're doing. Your mind can probably connect with all the kind of actions which you have in front of you. So yeah, those are my learnings.
All right. So I think I can sum up all of ours learning if in very quick ways is one, never say yes to everything. Delegate. Please delegate.
Yeah.
The second thing that we all of us learned is talk to the customer and understand what is their need instead of what we want to give it to them. Neha brought out a beautiful aspect that we should always have a strategy how to go about everything when we start. At least a small plan. Small plans fail. Let's all of us be honest. Plans go to hell whenever we do anything, and yet we have to come up with new plans. So you have to keep on planning, and yet there has to be standard operating procedure while we are moving ahead. And as Shruti brought out beautiful points that timing of your launch has to be exactly right, and you need to have proper network instead of people who just connect you, but people who would actually help you convert more revenues. uh, so I think all of us learn from our mistake, but what I really want to understand from all of you is what did you learn from someone else's mistake? So my personal learning from one of my very close family member was that have numbers of your company on your hand. That is, you should, as simple as knowing what is the outstanding that you are going to take from market to what is going to be your payable in the market. You should know, and you should always run your numbers through to understand. So the I think what the learning that I had from that person is that be a CEO. That is, work more on strategizing and growth and not be involved on day-to-day nitty-gritty. If you're doing that, that means you've not hired properly, and if you have hired properly, you'd not do that. So that was my learning from one of the very close family members I've seen working. So yeah, let's go with Shruti. Shruti, if you could tell if you've learned something different, not from your own failure, but from someone else's failure, and if you'd like to mention their name, who taught you that. So please do that.
So the first thing which I would say is learn wherever you are. See, you're going to grow from 1 to 100 to 1,000. At wherever point you are, at a point where you are at 100 level of growth, you should have that yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm saying you should have that capacity of absorption to listen about your own critics on the business. Sometimes we love our business so much, we love the processes, and we love our mind and gut so much that we fail to listen to our own people around it. They are there to guide us. Some people will come to your life and they would say that, hey, you should work like that, this is not how this is going to work, and we fail to listen to that. Not that I'm saying that we should listen to everyone, but being conscious enough and bringing that small portion of healthy critics, bringing in the business, is very important for growth. And if you don't listen, if you don't take those advices, or believe in your mentors and all of those things, I think you can easily go into a wrong track, or you can fumble up in your business. So that's my major learning.
All right. Bhavini.
Okay, again, my major learning was from one of the failures. I was trying to, so we in an incubation center where there are multiple, startups, and we were working on launching a new service, and we were, like diligently putting the process in place, putting every tech in place, and we realized that, in the quest of trying to launch perfect, we were delaying the launch, and we can never launch perfect, right? You'll always launch with a flaw. And one of the reasons why a lot of startups get stuck is, while trying to launch perfect, they lose the best time to launch, right? And just while we were doing this, our startup was working on something, planning on a perfect launch, and Geo launched a product exactly identical to what they were designing, right? Now imagine a situation, you're working to launch perfect, and you're working on the product for 3 years, and you have a competitor like Geo. You just have to, shut everything down and move to a different product, right? So that was like a big learning. So all our starter, all of us, we go for evening chai, and that's when we were like, that day was a horrible day because this person did not know what to do next, right? And then that's when it clicked me that if I continue doing what I'm doing, I'll end up like this, and there would be a chai session wherein I'm crying. So that really gave me this idea of going ahead and launching, and that was the week when we, it was like Tuesday, and next week Monday was our launch. We just launched, with whatever preparations we had then. So sometimes, I give a lot of importance to preparing, but then launching on at the right time is also important, because you can never be perfect, unless you launch and you test on the ground. That's my learning.
All right. Jheal, your learning from someone else and which you utilize in your startup.
So two main things, I think, expanding on something that Shruti also spoke about, in terms of sometimes you don't have to experience something to learn from it. If somebody who's experienced it already is telling you, listen, it's not going to work, or it does work this way, I think sometimes you really have to accept that and be like, hey, I'm not that special. It's not that I know everything or I'm going to be the anomaly. Sometimes you are also going to be part of that crowd, and exactly what's happened to somebody else can possibly happen to you. And that's something you really need to be open-minded about. Not be like, hey, it's happened to other people, but it won't happen to me. You really need to figure that out. And I think the other one that I really wanted to talk about is the fact that for entrepreneurs, a lot of people say, hey, impostor syndrome, or be like, oh, if you don't know about it, it's absolutely okay. Say, yes, we will figure it out later. That's not always a very good idea. If you don't know something, especially like you mentioned about numbers, for example, or if you're not aware of something, put your foot down and say, hey, I'm really sorry. I don't currently know this. Let me get back to you. Or let me come back to you. Don't overclaim, don't exaggerate. Don't say something you are not 100% sure about if you can't prove it. Because if an investor hears it, for example, or if they tell someone else, or in my case, I heard a startup founder doing it. And an investor overheard, and then they had such a bad impression of the startup. Those guys still haven't been able to get funding for the simple reason that nobody trusts the founder anymore. Because they're like, oh, but we've heard you at an event, like a networking event, exaggerating your numbers and claiming things that everybody knows you've not done or not been able to do. That's not okay. So I think you really have to be aware of that trap in terms of, yeah, I'm going to say good things about my company and obviously not talk about the bad, but I'm not going to make up stuff that doesn't exist. So that's something I've seen firsthand, which I think is a very tricky place that founders really have to pay attention to.
All right. Charu?
Yeah, so I had a very good friend. He started his business and it had been several months, and he outsourced his digital marketing part to another agency, and they did it for several months. And after a point of time, they realized that what they had been doing was a piece of crap, and was completely opposite to probably what should have been done. Yeah. Now, the problem was that this guy trusted this agency just too much and did not know too much about digital marketing, social media marketing himself. And that's why completely was dependent upon what they were doing with hardly any inputs. So I think I learned from him that whatever you are outsourcing, it's important that even if you don't understand it in depth, But it is very important. Yeah, it is important that you at least have an idea of knowing what is right and what is wrong, and also, following up, checking, monitoring, ensuring that you're keeping a tab on what these guys are doing. I mean, I'm sure people don't want to cheat you deliberately, but people do become complacent, right? कोई नहीं पूछ रहा तो ठीक है, जो चल रहा है वो चल रहा है, whoever asks you more, you sort of, do better work in their thing. So I think whatever you outsource, ensure that you have a basic understanding of it.
Neha?
Yeah, so I have 4 learnings, and those have come from I'm like following the journey of 2 startups that are very close to me, and I've actually been a part of their journey too, because I've been their friend, or probably I've been their mentor or consultant. So one is that don't get intimidated by the success of your peers or your competitors, because that creates a doubt of that creates a loop of self-doubt, and you just get derailed from the path that you were bound to follow. So a lot of people, they kind of get intimidated. Oh, my competitor is doing that. Oh, my folk is doing that. Oh, look at my cousin. He's being so successful. He's already built a company so much. Why am I not able to do it? So we start aping what they are doing, but that's their business and it's good for their business. I don't think so. We should get intimidated. Otherwise, you'll just get derailed. Second is that I believe you should always act on your strengths, which Charu has also mentioned at the start. That whether you're a single co-founder or whether there are 2 co-founders or 3 co-founders, always try to act upon your strengths. So in our company, like I am the backbone of the company and my co-founder is the face of the company, but we're acting upon our strengths. A lot of times, co-founders find themselves in a place of conflict wherein they try to take each other's place because somebody is getting the limelight and other is not getting the limelight. I think it's best for a company to work. It's necessary that co-founders act on their own strengths, or a single founder also act upon his or her own strengths. If you're not the best person to do the job, and if you can afford it, it's better that you hire the next best person that you can find to do that. Third is that I believe accept your failures. It helps you to move on quickly. Failure accept kar lo, aage बढ़ जाओ. That's it. It's okay. Roll liya, ek din roll lo, aage बढ़ जाओ. That's the thing. And lastly, that Bhavini mentioned was that don't promise what you cannot keep up. So this is one thing that always, which I think Jheal was also mentioning, that if you cannot get people's trust, be it your customers' trust or be it the investors' trust or anybody's trust whom you are related to in the business, if you cannot accomplish something or fulfill something, don't even promise that. I've lost a lot of business just because I knew I could not accomplish it or fulfill it or deliver it. And I did not want it to have a bad face for my client. So I kind of let it go. I said, I am not capable to do that. I can find you a best person to do that, but I am not good for it. So these have been my share of learnings, and I think they've been really helpful in building the kind of company that we've built so far.
Right. So listening to all of you, I just felt that these are more like soft skills that we have to ingrain: acceptance, so critical analysis, so you need to have critical approach also. You have to be really accepting that all right, you failed, and you don't have to get intimidated. So there are a lot of soft skills that are involved in dealing with a failure, especially in all the different industries that we are. And as all of you have rightly mentioned, even in Tatkal Lorry, especially in a logistics company, when people ask me that, Nikita, why only tiles and so on, because that's what I understood. After law, if I understood something, it was tiles. And that is because my father is a brand consultant in the industry, and that's something I've grown up with. And so that's something I understood. And so when people tell me that, why are you not expanding? I said, there's a one very simple thing, that if you're really good at your niche, that is when if you start churning your revenue there, from there you can pick it up and put it up in another new niche. Otherwise, अगर 10 जगह पे पाँव डालोगे तो आप डूब जाओगे. And that's the brutal truth of entrepreneurship. And I think Charu pointed out a beautiful point, that we should cross-check if we don't know anything. I've been cheated by social media agencies like that. So yes, and if I don't, and it took me 1 year to learn accountancy. I was a lawyer, so I got in a good accountant, and from them I learned that. So yeah, I think beautiful points put out. Jatin, thank you so much for letting me moderate the panel. Handing it over to you.
Yes, I'll ask a question and then you take it over again. So there is this one question that I end up asking a lot of founders and my friends also. is starting a business or being an entrepreneur has a lot of ups and downs. So there would be a point where which is you are at the lowest of your low. So at that point in time, sometimes there is a strong support system. So sometimes a certain friend did something and that you were able to do well. So that what was that one particular support you got? It could be anything. And at that point in time, you make certain choices. And then those choices will result in a much bigger thing after 2-3 years. So those two things, and if you can just finish in 1 minute, so that we can Nikita can take over again. So, but that point that when you were at the lowest of low, what was that key support you got from anything, and what was those key choices you made that made you who you are today? Neha.
All right. So,
Yeah.
Neha, can you start with that,
Okay.
and then we'll go ahead.
So I think with me, I mean, like the kind of person that I am, self-reflection was the biggest support that I got from my own self, because I just asked a question to my own self that what am I going to do if I'm not going to do this? When I was at the lowest point in my career, especially while building this company. So I just asked myself, what am I going to do tomorrow? If I shut this company today, what am I going to do tomorrow? I had no answer, to be very honest, because I just did one job before starting my company, and I never did that job which kind of complemented my profession. So I had no answer to that. And I said, okay, go back to sleep. You'll get up tomorrow. You'll have the energy to work on it and make it come back.
Yeah, Charu?
I think the key thing that kept me moving was I had burned all my bridges. So I also come from a different profession, and people say don't burn your bridges, but I just burned those bridges. I'm like, there's no going back. There is no other options, nowhere else to go. You have to ensure that you pick up yourself, get up the next day and do it, because there is no other choice. So I think that was something that just kept me driving. And when I was at this point, I picked up and I saw that, what kind of alterations, modifications I can do in the business model to ensure that it just stays afloat. And so these are those kind of, as you say, SOPs and go-to-market strategy. I started working on those, and it just, I think that is what helped me.
All right. Jheal, could you tell us?
So I think the person that supported me most through this is my younger sister. I mean, she's almost like my older sister. So she's one of those people who always like, yes, you can do it. No, she has no clue what the question is. Her response is always, yes, you can do it. Because she's always that motivated. She's like, just figure it. You will figure it out. But I think in terms of what's always kept me going is I always ask myself, what is the worst that can happen? Like literally, what is the worst that can happen? I will fail at it. I will learn something. I will change it and move on, which is exactly what happened in the beginning of the company. So I think now every single time I have a really big decision to make, something that's like, oh my God, we're going to change something. I'm like, listen, what is the worst that can happen? You will just pivot it a little bit. You will figure it out. So just do it.
Right.
So, like, be confident in yourself and you'll figure it out.
Right. Shruti?
So I actually am a very people-friendly person. When you are at the weakest spot of your life, you gain strength from what your strengths are. Being people-friendly is my strength, and with God's grace, I've got people also, my friends also like that, who have always been very, very supportive and open to talk about any kind of shits which I have done in my business. So I was openly talking about what I was going through, what I was actually experiences. I spoke to a lot of people. I spoke to people in a direction in the industry where I wanted to go. So I never stopped speaking to people and taking those insights which can carve my next path. And that kept me moving, because every day you hear something, you talk something, you listen something, which gives you a different spark, apart from anything which is going in your life. So I did not focus my failures. I rather focused on my strengths that time. That, okay, being people friendly and being around people is my strength. So I focused on being around them and learning from them.
All right. Bhavini?
Okay, I don't know if it's the right forum to say that, but I got my strength from my vengeance. So it's like, I was very, yeah. So I don't want to be, kind of all goody about it, but I feel that when somebody tries to rub it on your face that, you can't do it, is when, that somebody has stepped, rubbed you the wrong way or stepped on your tail, and you were like, okay, if I can't do it, nobody else can do it, So it's like, it's not about, so I just want to quote Ayn Rand here. I'm a big fan of Ayn Rand. So she was like, it's not about who will let you. It's about who can stop you. Right, so that's the kind of attitude that came sheer out of vengeance, just to be able to prove my worth. And I'm really glad, sometimes such negative emotions helps you, take the right direction. And I think that vengeance really kind of settled me, put me in the right place to have the energy that I really needed in that point of time. Because I was kind of at the, I think for most of us, before we take the flight, we are at the lowest of the low of our life. There's absolutely no bottom. We are at the bottom. So there's just one direction to move. And you need that force, there has to be some force that pushes you like zoo. So this was my force.
So talking about myself, when I was at my lowest, and it was very recently, in fact, it was an all-time low. I had gotten, I was COVID positive, and I was also, we are, all of us are surviving right now. I don't know about a lot of technology-driven companies, but product-driven and especially operations-driven companies like me, we are literally surviving. That we survive. We just need to survive this winter. So, so my strength is my boyfriend, husband, Udit. Uh, he and every time I come back home with this really sad face or anything, he's like, "This is a rock bottom. इससे नीचे कुछ नहीं हो सकता है. ये सबसे नीचे है. ये bottom है Nikita. इससे ऊपर ही ऊपर है." And that pushes me. And actually, what really pushes me is that I have 35 families dependent on me. So I don't have an option ki, oh no, I will not do this. There are 35 people whom I have to pay. Their families are dependent. They're going to. So I'm a very emotional person. I cry in the office corner every time someone leaves. So that's the kind of person and that's the kind of leader that I am. So yeah, and you know what? And all of you, I see this one common denominator, that's resilience. None of you gave up. All of you just don't believe in giving up. You're like, nahi, ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? You guys remember that scene from Mission Mangal where he said, sir, fail कैसे हो सकता है? Sir, option ही नहीं है. ऐसे कैसे? So all of you are like that, and it's so good. It is so
like
good.
When we were young, we used to play that game of carom and ludo, and every time we lose, you're like, एक और खेलते हैं.
Yes. Yes.
One more game. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think someone has asked that question as well. What are the key points to be successful person in business and life? So one thing that all of you can give your inputs, but one thing that I personally believe is success की definition सबके लिए अलग होती है. However, irrespective of whatever definition is, you need to have the grit to get through it, to get through the tough times, whether what is that saying, when the tough gets going, the going gets tough, or something like that. Right? I think I said it ulta. But
you said it ulta.
I said it ulta. Yeah, I said it ulta. I'm so sorry, but I think people listening to this get this. But yeah, anyone else, that is my personal opinion. Grit के अलावा कोई option ही नहीं है. So if anyone wants to add, please go ahead.
I think persistence is the biggest thing that has ever paid. No matter how brilliant your idea is, no matter how brilliant your support system is, no matter how strong your investor is, but if you don't have that, nature of not giving up and persistently working, staying focused on the goal, it doesn't work. No matter how great a backing you have, no matter who is backing you up.
Yeah, and to add to that, Bhavini, actually, it's another thing that we always used to get taught in college was that nobody can run your startup but you. Yeah. You are the reason your startup is so different. So
it's your baby, no? It's your baby. You can't give up on your baby.
Confidence, like exactly like you said, मैं नहीं कर सकती तो और कोई नहीं कर सकता. Like I only have to do it. There's nobody else who's going to come and save me from this. So just pull up your pants and like get it done.
Yeah, very true.
So
I'd say
yeah, please.
Okay, Shruti, go ahead.
Okay, so I'd say that there is nothing like success or being successful or finding definitions. Just have small goals, and as long as you're able to fulfill those small goals and find those small happinesses in your life, fulfilling everyone around you, you're successful in everything you do, because the parameters of success are different, the emotion behind it are different. So let's not get into how we achieve success. Let's finish day by day and keep going.
Very true. So when जब हम failure अपने mindset से set करते हैं, तो success भी हम अपने mindset से ही set करते हैं. So yeah, Neha,
Exactly.
you were saying something.
Yeah, so I was just saying that apart from persistence and perseverance, of course, that's the key ingredient to being successful in life. I think it's very important to also know when to pull back, because sometimes you're treaded on a wrong path. Sometimes you like over ambitious. Okay, this is definitely going to work because I feel this is going to work, but it might just not work out because the market is not out there. As just Jheal mentioned that she did limited market research and kind of pivoted the model. So I think it's important to understand when to pull back also when the need arises.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Shah, Charu, if you could add
yeah.
something, we'll just quickly wrap it up. We have another 1 minute to
We
go.
need to wait for 2 more, I guess, right?
No, Jatin.
Yes, we will start in 7 minutes. We will start this.
Jatin, I think you'll have to mute
Sonal
yourself.
would just join, and Susan will be just
Okay.
joining.
Okay, no
I think
issues.
he's okay. Charu, if you have something.
Okay, yeah. So I think I take success based on 2 types of goals. One is result goals and other is
Like, want to say
process goals.
something about your internal community? Yeah, absolutely. I can share a little bit. So at Morris, it's
Jatin, your mic is on.
Ah.
Yeah, so I was saying that I take success as 2 things. One is result goals and other is process goals. So not every time we are able to achieve the results that we want. So even if I'm able to do the processes or do the process goals that I'm supposed to do, I consider that as my success. Not everything is dependent. I can't control everything, but I can control what I'm able to do. And if I'm doing that, I call it a successful day and go to sleep.
Yes. All right. So it was a wonderful
So Nikita,
session.
we have 1 minute.
Somebody has
Okay.
asked.
I'll jump. Just
Somebody
jump.
has asked a question.
Jatin, aap lo
Yes,
question.
I just wanted to end this with,
Yeah.
so this is the question we asked and we've got a lot of interesting responses. You have to answer in just 1 word. If you were in your entrepreneur or founder journey, if you were to get 1 superpower, what would that be? 1 word. And moment the last person ends this sentence, I'll end the call. So just 1 word. Shruti?
1 super.
मेरे से start चालू करोगे? मेरे को
हाँ.
सोचने तो दो, 1 word.
Phrase, it's okay. It's 3.
लक्ष्मी मिल रही तो हाथों ने मत जाओ. 1 superpower होगी आपको.
No, superpower.
1 superpower.
Yep.
In people's minds.
Who has answered that?
That's
Okay.
me.
Jheal, that's Jheal.
That superpower has been assigned to you. Nobody else can say the same thing. You have to have a different answer. Bhavini?
I did not understand. I did not hear what Jheal said.
1 superpower you would want as an entrepreneur.
I said
What
reading
is Jheal?
people's minds. I want to be able to read everybody's mind.
Okay.
Haan.
Bhavini, just 1 word. I need to go to other session.
I'll take the invisible spell so that even if I can't read it, I can go and listen to what they're talking about afterwards.
Awesome. Nikita?
I want to be better at numbers. मुझे please थोड़ा science और maths का ज्ञान चाहिए. So I'll take that and then I'll create all things that they are wanting. So
Awesome. Shruti?
So I would say that I'll be so charming that people see me and then start writing checks to me.
Wow. Charu?
superb. Given best.
I know, I get a time machine and I go in future, see all the alternate reality and see which decision to take at that time.
Superb.
Awesome. So I will do 1 more announcement. At 9 p.m. we have another session starting.
Neha.
On building communities. No, Neha को बोलेगी फिर Dhyani देगा मेरी announcement.
Neha.
No, I'm just making some 2 announcements. Nikita.
Yeah.
So there is a session at 9 p.m. on building communities, and at 10 p.m. there is about remote work culture. So if you go to CoRiseSummit.com, you'll discover a lot of things, and you'll be able to watch a lot of earlier videos. So announcements are over. Neha, the moment you end your word, I'll just end the call.
So I'll just say everything that's going to happen to me, I should be able to know that prior.